Hey, super friends, my name is Neil, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Get Your Comic On podcast. You last saw us talking about our favorite video game adaptations, and then some life kind of got in the way and happened. But we are back today for a brand new episode where we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 2 and some of the movies that we have been watching recently. I am joined, of course, as always, by Aaron and Michael. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I've been better, but I'm not too bad at the moment.
I think this is the general state of being, which is why I am treating this episode as therapy.
Yeah.
Michael, how are you? You've had a holiday, so
I'm good. I should be doing a lot better considering I've been on holiday. But yeah, I'm all right, thank you. I'm happy to be here and I'm happy we're back.
a holiday and engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a very busy time.
Whoop, 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 whoop. It has. The less said about it, the better, which is why I am glad to be here on this Sunday afternoon with the two of you to talk about some movies because it's about time. So we're going to kick off with Mortal Kombat 2, which is currently in cinemas. This is its second weekend as we are recording this. It has performed okay in America. It looks like it didn't make number one in the box office last week. It looks like it's going to drop to fourth place this week, but it's still going to make around 12, 13 million in its second weekend. Really not performing that well internationally, which is odd. It has not caught on with the international audiences at all, which is surprised me, actually. I thought it was going to do really well and kind of makes me wonder about Street Fighter for later this year if these kinds of American fighting game movies aren't maybe catching on with an international audience. But let's get into what we all thought about it. It's directed by Simon McQuiod, who directed the first film, which came out in 2021. It was a Warner Brothers at-home pandemic premiere. I remember it, sitting at home watching it, wishing I could see it at the big screen. This one is written by Jeremy Slater, who was not the writer of the first film. He's come on board for this one. The synopsis on IMDb is the fan favorite champions, now joined by Johnny Cage himself, are pitted against one another in the ultimate battle to defeat the dark rule of Shao Kahn that threatens the very existence of the Earth realm and its defenders. I would read a cast list, but we'd be here for weeks because it's a very long cast list. But it's probably worth noting that Carl Urban joins the cast this time around as Johnny Cage, which is the big new stunt cast for this one. Otherwise, the fighters that we met in the previous film are all back. Probably actually worth noting Adeline Rudolph, major addition to the cast as Katana, and Tati Gabrielle as Jade. They're kind of the three big newbies, aren't they? So, who wants to kick off? What did we all think of this film? I've seen it twice. I really enjoyed it. I actually think I enjoyed it a little bit less on second viewing, but I liked it nonetheless. Thoughts? Aaron, I'll throw to you first. What did you think of this film?
Well, considering I thought the first one was fine, I went into this one because again I'd kind of seen early reviews, and a lot of people were saying it was really good. It was a massive improvement. I think the one thing I'd heard generally is it takes everything everyone had an issue with in the first one and doubles down on the things that worked. And I went into it really anticipated, and in the end I just thought it was kind of the same as the first. It's a really tricky one because I went in wanting to love it because I'm like, oh, it's going to double down on like being self-referential, it's going to have more fights, and it's just going to get straight to the point. And yes, it does do that, but I don't know, something about it, for everything that did click with me, there was like a load of other things that didn't for some reason. Like, yes, the new characters are great, but something about this one felt really choppy in execution compared to that first one that I rewatched before seeing the second one. That one just flows a lot better for I don't know what it is, but the pacing and the story in that first one just kind of flows better than this one, even though this one just gets to the thing everyone wants to see. It's a tricky one. I'm still trying to like wrap my head around my thoughts on this film, but overall, it is more of the same in my opinion.
It's interesting, yeah, because the first one where they invented and introduced this Cole Young character becomes quite, and this is not to slate it, it becomes a sort of generic origin in that you've invented this guy that's going to become the audience's way into the world of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And then you introduce this Mark of the Dragon, which is completely dropped because the fan base hated it so much. But you use that as your way of saying this is how he's chosen as a fighter and how you bring it in. And it does, you're right, it flows as a generic sort of origin to the lore and world of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Which you then try and forget about in this one. And instead, yeah, you do just get down to business, but that just means that you're then jumping from fight to fight. And some of the connective tissue is where I think this film doesn't work as well. But Michael, what did you think?
I agree. I think the what I liked about the second one more than the first one is it skips the whole like what is Mortal Kombat and just jumps into Mortal Kombat, which I preferred because the whole like precursor to like all the things you just mentioned, I wasn't a fan of. I actually preferred them just diving right in and getting stuck in. I do think the connection like between all of like the fights, like the actual like film part and like the writing is what kind of let it down. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was an improvement from the first movie. It did feel more like the games, which is kind of what I wanted. And I do think the new characters made an improvement because I think the first film, the cast of characters was fun, but they missed out some of the ones that you want to see. Like you want to see Johnny Cage, you want to see Katana, and that's what I think was missing in the first one was the crowd favorite characters.
Yeah.
But no, I did enjoy it. I quite liked a lot of the small details that tied it to the games, like when the camera would pan and the two characters are fighting, like they've just come out of a cinematic and then they start fighting. There's some really clever small choices that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the connective tissue was definitely the problem.
Yeah, some of the stuff that you just mentioned there, like when you get to the fight between Cole Young and Shao Kahn, where it did the full on like wide shot from the distance of the two of them stood like posing against each other was like spot on. Like it might as well have just come up and been like 3, 2, 1, fight. And then I like the way it plays with comedy a little bit in that when it's Katana versus Johnny Cage, he wobbles on the spot in that whole like finish him moment. Where she chooses obviously not to kill him in that moment, but the fact that he wobbles and then flops over, I thought was again, it was a great nod to some of the stuff that maybe the general audience might know more than like the really, really obvious bits of iconography from the games rather than the hardcore stuff that only people who really get deep in the lore would understand, which is still in there, but I'm glad that they did the crowd pleasing stuff that everyone could understand. I hate to say it because I watched a press conference with the cast and crew before I saw the film, and Jeremy Slater, who wrote the script, is clearly a fan and clearly spent a lot of time working with Ed Boon, who created Mortal Kombat, on pulling those references and stuff in. So he clearly had a great grasp of what Mortal Kombat is and what makes it great. But then it is some of the dialogue bits, like the relationship between Jade and Katana, where all of a sudden Jade's just sort of saying, it's 20 years since I was made your guardian. Here's a weapon. And it's like, you're my sister. And it's some of that is just a bit
clunky,
sloppy.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say almost like the effort went into, here are these big fights. We're going to choreograph these big fights and you're going to see a few locations that you might recognize, and we're going to approach it the way that you would approach the cinematography within the games, and we'll have moves from the games and special moves from the games.
Yeah,
maybe we should spend some time working on the dialogue as well.
For me, it's one of those things where, and I'm not just saying it because these are two video game films that are that have come out very close to each other, but there are a lot of similarities between Mortal Kombat 2 and Super Mario Galaxy movie in the sense that there is a bit of a struggle between like how much do we do fan service, how much do we actually do character and story stuff. I feel like this one, it flows a little bit better than Super Mario Galaxy, but there is still that issue where it's like, yes, we're throwing a lot of things fans want to see at the screen, and I think that's one thing that is both a positive and a negative of Super Mario Galaxy, where it feels like you're being bombarded with Nintendo references every 5 seconds, and this film does start to veer into that territory where it's like, here's this fighting stage you remember from the game, here's the acid pits, here's this move, here's this bit of iconography or this line. And whereas again because even though the story was generic in the first Mortal Kombat, it flowed just enough so that any bits of references just felt like they you're like, oh, there's that reference, that's fine. Yeah,
just
you've
existed.
kind of you've kind of earned it. Whereas here, they're throwing so many references from the games at you. Yes, it's good for fans to see, but at the same time, it does feel a bit like I don't want to say overkill, because again, it's a balancing act, and it's a tricky one for me to try and figure out in my head, because yes, it's good for the fans, but if you only know a little bit about the games, it can probably feel a bit much, if that makes sense.
There's probably bits that go over people's heads as well that they just don't necessarily realize, and maybe it becomes integral to the story, and then you're relying too much on people having knowledge of the games that they might not have going in, and you sort of alienate some of the general audience that way too. Because I had to dig deep to try and remember things like the Necromancer and stuff like that, because I was like, all right, we're getting we're really we're deep in here.
We're going in. Do you know what I think one of the main problems is it tried to have these two leading storylines. You had Katana and then you had Johnny Cage, but it kept dropping who was the focus. It almost wanted to have these two competing storylines, and then they could kind of collide, and then it just didn't work. It wasn't defined enough, if that makes sense. It kind of dropped who was the two main characters quite a bit, and you'd zigzag between Katana, then Johnny Cage, and then Shao Kahn, and then it kind of darted around a lot. I think if it had really focused on them two and had two main core characters and then a supporting cast, instead of trying to give everyone, I think that was the problem, is they was trying to give everyone their moment. But in doing that, it kind of, you lost who was the main story that you should be following, or what the main thread was. So I think it just got a bit crowded, weirdly.
Yeah, I agree as well, because it starts with that intention in mind. Here's Katana's story, here's Johnny Cage's story, and that almost feels like that's going to be similar in the first film with Cole Young. That's going to be your through line throughout the whole film. But then, as soon as they're introduced to the tournament, that kind of gets half thrown out the window to focus on other fights and other bits. And it's only until you get to the end it tries to bring it back around again. It's like, no, you've distracted too much now. You can't just do that.
Yeah, because those final moments where Johnny's rising up to use his power for the first time is played off really well against Katana getting up to win the fight against Shao Kahn, and that were if you isolate those moments where you're seeing one then the other and it's flipping back between the two and they're sort of rising up at the same time, that on its own works well. But as you just said, Aaron, you've had all that stuff in the middle where it's here's Sonya's fight, here's Jax's fight, here's Liu Kang's fight, where you've completely pulled away. So it's trying to find the format, isn't it? It's how do you find the format with a lead when you're deciding to show the whole tournament, which means there's going to be moments where they're not there.
Just out of curiosity, what is everyone's experience with the games, just so we can gauge what our knowledge is?
I was more of a Street Fighter kid because I was on SNES, and Mortal Kombat was more of a Sega platform. I had played some of the original ones, and my biggest slab of experience with it is sort of arcade versions and Mortal Kombat 1. The last couple of games basically are the ones that I've owned at home. Mortal Kombat 1 is the one I've played the most.
Sorry, I was just going to say I never played the original ones, but I've only really played it. Is it X, the one that came out in the late 2010s, and Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, which is not the best game to introduce yourself to the Mortal Kombat franchise with, but I remember liking it as a kid. It's not great, but it's fun for what it is.
Yeah,
but that's all I've played.
As a kid, I played it quite a bit. Probably inappropriate for a kid to play, I guess, given hindsight. But I loved these games as a kid, and then I dipped out. And then I think it was around Armageddon I started to replay them from that onwards. So I've kind of been in it for quite a while. I was a really big fan of Mortal Kombat 11. I thought the story there was probably the best story that they've done. So yeah, I've kind of like dipped in and out of it. I've been trying to keep up with it with the newer games. I'm currently playing Mortal Kombat 1, funnily enough, the newest game. But yeah, so I'd say I'm well versed with Mortal Kombat.
You are. You're okay. You're the expert then. Mortal Kombat 1 gets a bit distracted by the number of cameo, like downloadable characters. Like here's Peacemaker, here's Ghostface, and there's so many added in that are probably not from that franchise. Homelander.
I'll be honest. I downloaded it when it was on sale because I kind of avoided it because I saw all of the reviews coming in and I saw that there's like this new mechanic where there's 2 players that you play at one time.
Yeah, you can switch.
Yeah, and it's just not for me. I've tried my best to keep up with it, and like I am enjoying the story, but the mechanics of the game are just not it. And it kind of reminds me of the film in a way because you pick your character that you like, you pick a core character, and you're with that character. And I think that's kind of what the film gets wrong is you've got 2 characters, and it's like actually, what about all of these other options? And you're like, no, I want Katana. Stick with Katana.
Yeah, that's the thing because with games like that, you do tend to always end up with there tends to be the one character that you end up being best at, or you learn their moves the most, and they become the one that you lean on. Because I am definitely not someone that's very coordinated at those kinds of games. Even Street Fighter that I've played loads of over the years, I'm still like a button masher. I'm not sitting there going, right, this move, this move, this move, this move, like coordinated. I am just I'm going to press everything and mash everything, and we will see what will happen.
Love it. Yeah. I think playing Injustice 2, like 1 and 2, obviously made from the same studio that does Mortal Kombat, that really brought me back into Mortal Kombat, like as a game, because I was obsessed with both of them games. And as you were just talking about the combos there, I can see myself like remembering Black Canary's combo and like Wonder Woman's combo because they were my two.
That's one that I probably am a little bit. Funnily enough, I've maybe spent a bit more time learning how the characters work in that one.
Yeah, agreed. It's a really good game.
I think
supposedly they're working on a third one, so
yeah, I think I've only played Injustice 1. I don't know. I know I never finished it.
They're very for fighting games. They're very solid, and they have good storytelling as well.
They do.
Okay, as we were talking about those 2 kind of leads, and all right, maybe we feel like neither of their stories is particularly well carried out through the entire film. Let's start with Katana. What did you think of her actual, like what we get of her story? I thought it was interesting to start with her flashback. I thought that was nice to give that bit of contextualization to what's happening in the realms. And it was interesting to see where she came from and why she then had a reason to fight later on. I really liked her, and I thought Adeline Rudolph did a really good job playing that role as well. But what did you guys think, Michael? What do you think of her story?
I thought it was really good. Katana is one of my favorite characters in the game. I think she's by far one of the most interesting, and I thought the actress did a really, really good job portraying her. I thought the whole storyline was really interesting. I think the film lets her down because I think the writing could have been a bit more stronger and like umphed her up a bit. But yeah, in terms of characters, she was definitely the most like interesting. Her fighting was by far the most inventive, and she just did a really good job. The one thing that it's not great, but the one thing that's confusing me with this franchise is we had Melina in the first film, and Melina and Katana are sisters in the games, which is a really big thing in the Mortal Kombat space. Like they're really known for being sisters and like fighting. So I'm curious what they're going to do there, because when you see Katana as a young kid, you don't see
there's no sister. Yeah,
and it's a massive part of the games. Like in the community, they're really.
Maybe I did know that, and I just kind of forgotten about it because I was thinking that her and Jade were really closely related, and I was surprised that wasn't a sisterly, like an actual like blood relative situation. But maybe I'm just confusing Jade with Melina.
No, like there's like a sisterly thing there for sure. Like in the Mortal Kombat 1 that I'm playing, it follows Sindel because obviously she's the mother of both Katana and Melina.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see how they put like adapting the world, because this is something that fans of the game really love. Like they love these characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, I thought she did a really, really good job. I really liked it. And one thing that I thought they did really well, which was my gripe with the first movie, is her fighting was really fast paced. You didn't feel that she was doing choreography. You thought she was fighting. Like she was definitely like duking it out. So Yeah, loved
That
it.
is always a danger with stuff like this, that you can feel the actors going like beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4
Yeah,
in a fight sequence. But I did not get that sense from this film particularly.
no, especially considering she's fighting with fans, which logistically isn't like the most like, I don't know, it's not like very easy to pull off. So I thought she did a
Yeah.
really good job.
Yeah. Aaron, thoughts on Katana?
Yeah, no, I thought she was a great character, and I liked her intro felt like very reminiscent to Scorpion's intro in the first one. Like it's introducing you to another element. It's introducing you to another character's backstory. But if they do make a third one and they carry on that kind of thing of like, right, this is going to be your through line character, and we're going to have the entire intro dedicated to them. I like that as a connective thread. I think the thing that lets it down a little bit, and again, this is nothing against the actress. I think she's, like Michael said, she's great in the role. It's just that the film, like we said a minute ago, doesn't quite know where to take it. Like, yes, there is still the through line, but it kind of gets distracted with itself about halfway through. Same for Carl Urban's Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
But there is more of a focus on him because he is the bigger name character-wise and actor-wise. But I think for the potential that they had with Katana's character, and what they do with it, I think it's pretty decent given everything else going on in the film. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of it developed, but I think what we get is perfectly decent.
Yeah. And then, so you just touched on Johnny Cage. I really like how they filmed his movie that we got to witness at the beginning, which was just so funny, seeing the like attempt to recreate 80s fight choreography where like the punch was not near the face, or like he's just waving the arms around and like people like flying around him. I actually really liked that attention to detail on kind of going, here's a cheesy 80s action movie. By the way, did you ever spot that like fight sequences were really not that great back then?
I like that it was a nod to the old Mortal Kombat. It's like the old Mortal Kombat movies were that cheesy, so it kind of felt like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to like, they were kind of, we know how crap they were, and this one's gonna be a lot better. It was kind of like reminding you where you've come from and where we are today, which was really
true.
cute.
Yeah, no, I love the bit where I'm trying to remember, the woman fires a rocket and he kicks it and it just goes in a completely different direction and blows the helicopter up.
Oh wait, she's got like the rocket launcher over her shoulder. He pierces her other shoulder with a pole, and then she's just like, no, fires it anyway. And then he jumps and does the splits, and it flies under his legs, and then goes up and hits her. So even though it's like going straight as it goes between his legs, it then goes up and hits a helicopter that just crashes and explodes behind him.
Yeah, I love that bit.
I warmed to him more the second time. The first time, I don't know that he felt as Johnny Cage as I thought he was going to. I thought he would have been a bit more extroverted and a bit louder and a bit more, I don't know, just a bit bigger in characterization than what we got. But I do think, I mean, I love Carl Urban. Second time around, I appreciated him more. I don't know. I wanted to see more interactions between him and other characters, I think. He ended up being a little bit, I mean, his stuff with Kano was great, but he ended up a little bit isolated, and so his journey felt a bit solitary in a way, which doesn't feel inherently sort of Johnny Cage to me.
Yeah. I'd agree. I quite liked the banter that him and Kano had, like some of the insults they had towards the necromancer, like referring him to all sorts of things that I won't repeat now, but there were some really good insults that really made me giggle. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like on the Deadpool side of humor, a little bit more meta, a little bit more out there. But I think it was a really solid portrayal. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, because this is the other thing as well. I had to keep reminding myself that like I'm so used to the Johnny Cage from the games, who is a lot younger and a lot more, quipping jokes at left, right, and center. Whereas I kept having to remind myself during the film that like this is a more jaded, slightly older version that's been past that point that we're used to. But I think considering what they were going for, I thought it worked really well. I also liked his banter with Kano, but I also liked the whole side bit with him and Baraka, which was just
that was funny.
it just went in like a really weird direction, and I wanted more of that. Like, yeah, we're gonna double down on like the absurdity of this situation, and that worked for me. That whole entire segment where he just wants to learn his moves was that was funny.
Yeah.
Baraka was an interesting characterization because I don't know that character very well, so I don't know if that was. I feel like that was using it in a like taking it in a slightly different direction to what most people would expect, but it was funny to watch it unfold nonetheless.
Yeah. What did we think of Shao Kahn as a villain? I quite enjoyed him, and I thought he was quite interesting. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. He was a good villain, and he played it well. Given that sometimes when you use that kind of casting, it couldn't. I don't know. I was slightly worried he was going to end up like Bane in Batman and Robin, and end up being a bit of a caricature, which he didn't feel like that. He felt like a very imposing fighter. I think in the end, I probably felt like I needed a little bit more of him just to set him up a bit more. But we did, at least we had enough in that first fight and him taking over that whole world of katanas that it still established him as a threat. I would have liked him to have felt like more of a threat.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you've said. I think it would have been nice to have seen him maybe not kill other fighters, but maybe just completely, batter the living hell out of them. Because we do get that with one character. Whether we want to spoil that or not, I don't know. But which I'm not gonna say who, but like I know they weren't a massive fan favorite in the first one, but I'm just like, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I know he's not that bad of a character, but come on. But yeah, I wanted a bit more of that, like him being turned immortal and then completely laying waste to a load of other characters. Yeah, I realise we've got a big roster to get through, but I think I would have liked to have seen more of that to really show how powerful he was. Like, yeah, we do get the intro and that one fight, but I would have liked to have seen him fight some more people and really like beat the living crap out of them just to kind of prove how powerful he is. Because all you do get in the film is 2 scenes, a bit of a fight near the end, and then the fight with Katana at the end, and then just scenes of him looking menacing. Pretty much.
Yeah. I think that fight scene at the end where several characters have to try and take him out had the potential to be really good. And obviously he does kill someone in that I thought was a really good kill. But what pissed me off of that is if it didn't like set up the other characters very well. Like in the game, they should be able to take on him one-on-one. And it did do a good job at making him look really powerful, but like I don't know, like Sonya Blade just getting like swiped to the side just felt like such an insult to her character. Like she didn't get an actual chance to like.
I was expecting it to play out similarly to that bit in Infinity War where they're all trying to get the glove off of Thanos and they're all working as a team, but they're all getting battered away in different like mini fights while all trying to work together in that one big fight. And I was expecting something like that, but the way it kind of plays out is Kano and Johnny Cage and Scorpion are doing their own thing, and then you've got this fight with Sonya and Katana, and that's kind of it. And I kind of wish they'd, like you said, kind of integrated it more as a team effort. Even though it's separated, I kind of wish they'd all kind of work together to I mean, they do, but I know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It doesn't. It ends up sort of not having a huge amount of stakes, even though if they lose the fight, there is a major consequence for Earthrealm. But they sort of focus in and make it a bit more personal, and it's a bit more like we're going to focus on Kitana getting revenge against the guy that killed her father, rather than also say, by the way, if she loses this fight, then Earthrealm will be lost to Shao Kahn's reign.
Yeah.
You sort of didn't embrace the wider stakes of it quite so much, which you could have, and made it a much more big melodramatic. Like, if we lose to this big hulking now immortal guy, then we basically lose life.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the connective tissue, because she just decides randomly to be like, I'm going to fight for Earthrealm. But what would have made it a lot more interesting is if she'd like learnt behaviors or like made connections that made her want to fight for Earthrealm instead of just doing it her own thing. You know, like I think it would have meant more for her to like represent not only like defending her father or like honoring her father, but also Earthrealm. It just was completely imbalanced in that way.
I think that's another thing the film struggles with is like, it picks these fights purely for personal moments. Like, obviously, you get the Liu Kang fight, which is very emotionally driven, and it's probably one of the best fights in the film
easily,
because of that and the way it's executed. But then at the same time, because whereas in the first film, again, it's general momentum between all the fights, this one does have struggles to find that balance. And like, yes, there are high stakes in the background, but we're going to keep them mostly personal, and that's good every once in a while. But you do need to kind of, like we've just said, have those bigger moments that show the stakes are at their highest. And I feel like it struggles with finding that balance at times, because it is so focused on those individual one-on-one personal stuff, which is good, those personal battles, but you need to kind of know where that line is between the two.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up on this one, production budget 80 million. So I hate to use the word cheap. But in terms of a like blockbuster major studio tentpole movie, this is a cheaper production, which is good considering where we're at right now. It's made around 85 million worldwide, so it's sort of gone past the threshold. But I do appreciate that a lot of the fights are practical. There's a lot of what looks like wire work going on, especially with Katana when she's kind of using the fans as stepping stones to like jump up higher and get onto different platforms. And there's a lot of practical set design that's getting destroyed as well at the same time. I didn't feel like it was a CGI slugfest, which is also, and like Baraka's face as well, is clearly practical to a certain degree. So I really appreciated that. Were you on the kind of same page with that? That it doesn't look cheap, but it's very practical, which I appreciate.
I'd say so. I think you can definitely tell that when people are doing the like choreography, like the stunts and stuff, that they're actually doing it and it's not, done in post on green screen. You can tell there's wires and actual, craftsmanship gone into it. And even some of the sets and like you said, like the fans and like the prosthetics and stuff, you can tell that time's been put into it, which I thought was really good. No, I would agree.
And there aren't actually that many sets either, which is also interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, it was like a 50-50 split of like, there are some really impressive sets here, but then there are other, like the acid pit stage, which is stripped straight out the game. I'm like, this looks great, but at the same time, I do get that feeling that like a lot of that background environment is CG and not there, and only the platform they're on is is real. It's only a few bit scenes here and there. Like again, Sonya's first fight in that really claustrophobic room with the spikes. Again, it's like this feels either like a corner of a set or not quite a full blown set, and it just felt a bit awkward in execution. You do get some sets that do feel proper, like big and grand, and they do look the part.
Huge, however much of that was real.
Yeah, but then for every like really impressive one, you've got these other ones where it's like, I'm not sure about this. Like Baraka's village, that you can really tell that is a set, whether it be out in the open or on a stage. You can tell that that's all practical, and then you cut to something like that little corner of a room with the spikes or the acid pit, and it does feel a bit jarring. I don't know. That's kind of my takeaway from it, but there was like a 50-50 split for me.
I haven't seen much behind the scenes to know what was done with kind of. I don't know if they did anything like so with the acid bath one.
Mm.
I don't know if that was like maybe done in the volume, and maybe they had the platform and had the background on screens and stuff like that. I don't know if there was any of that was implemented. I would be interested to know how they did some of that. Because like the Liu Kang fight, obviously that background is not real,
Yeah.
but again, the platform that they're on is very much real. But I don't know if that was a green screen background and that was put in later, or if they were really seeing that going on around them, if they were in something like the volume.
That one wouldn't surprise me if it was the volume, because of the way that the light is kind of bouncing
It's very
on
well
the
done,
fight.
isn't it?
Yeah, the way the light is, like the way the entire stage changes from blue to red, and then the
Yeah.
light really effectively changes on them. That out of all of them, that's the only one that I'm like, if it is filmed on anything like the volume, then that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Anything else that you want that we've not touched on that you wanted to mention about Mortal Kombat 2 before we wrap up and move on?
It depends if we want to go spoiler territory.
How spoilery do you want to go?
I just want to keep picking up that thing that I mentioned a minute ago about someone dying.
Oh yeah, that I mean, okay, well, yeah, we can touch on that one. The death of Cole Young is it's unfortunate, yeah, but clearly they felt that he just did not resonate with the fan base.
It's sad because Lewis Tan is a good martial artist
Brilliant.
and a good
Yeah.
actor. And he just sort of gets his head squished, like really unceremoniously. And I was like, I know he's, because that's the thing, I didn't hate his character in the first one. I
No,
just
me
thought he
neither.
was a bit one-dimensional. And in this one, it's like, yeah, I realize you don't have anything to do with him in the grand scheme of things, but you could have at least like given him something, not just I don't know, squish his head like a tomato.
And then drop his body into the acid.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit.
What bothered me with his death was when the scene started in true Mortal Kombat fashion, you saw like this big hook, like swing, like as the scene started, there was a big hook. And I was like, oh, that's going to be used. Like someone's going to get like impaled. Like that's got to be where this is going. And then it never really got used. And I was like, what a waste. What a waste. But yeah, so his death was good. I thought it was like a good death. But I did feel bad for his character though.
Yeah.
Especially considering it was the acid, so it can't even really be redeemed, I don't think, because you need the body.
So this is probably my final point that I have had rattling around in my mind. The final scene of the film kind of gives you an idea as to a direction that they could go for a third film, but it also has the potential to underwrite all of the big emotional beats of this film. Now, I presume that by squishing his head and then dropping his body into acid, we're saying Cole Young is irredeemable. But it kind of feels like they're saying that people like Jax, who has a more meaningful death for Sonya, is we can just go get him and bring him back.
I mean, I don't want to be literal, but like I'm just assuming if they've died but their body is still mostly intact, both in the first film and this one, like with Kano coming back in this one, I'm like, surely that kind of gives them free pass to go, yeah, we can bring him back. Whereas that one, it's just like, yeah, I'm not. There's no way they can scrounge in the acid for bits of tissue.
Yeah, they didn't make it very clear what the rules are for bringing someone back to life. Like, I think they tried to very subtly nod to it because Kano's body was still intact, but it kind of implies that that doesn't need to be the case because every character that they'd bring back was brutally killed. So it's gonna be interesting. But
yeah,
because like with the difference between Shang Tsung and Kano ended up being that they said that Kano didn't really have much of a soul to corrupt, whereas not Shang Tsung, I'm getting it wrong, aren't I? I'm going to get the right. Did I just get it? Quan Chi. Is corrupted and turned into, I'm going to forget what they called him now. I want to say Reaper. It wasn't a Reaper, was it? It was a Revenant, something like that, which is why he ends up fighting with Liu Kang because he's been poisoned by the necromancer and his soul is changed. So I was a bit, some of the lore around that I'm a bit confused about.
Me too. I think that they had an opportunity to show us because obviously Melina got killed, which is the queen with the screeching power. Like when Sonya Blade kills her, there was a chance for them to show us more of what that like mechanic is in this world, but they just didn't. She just appeared again after she'd just been killed off, in the previous scene.
Also, Kung Lao. I mean, Kung Lao is the character that I'm talking about. When I get to the right one,
they've all got very similar names.
They do.
A lot of them have very similar names, which makes it, as someone who's not well versed, I'm just like, yeah, the one with that hat.
Yeah, I should have said that. I should have just said hat guy. So when they talk about him, it's very much like he had a soul, he's been corrupted, and that's why he's now the dark version. But Kano didn't have a soul that was worth corrupting, and that's why he still gets to be. I feel like the rules were just whatever we can make it work so we can continue to do the thing that the fans enjoy the most about the character.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm hoping if they do a third one, they will tell us.
Yes, they're going to have to. Yeah. So I ended up rating this 3. I think I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, which is the same as I gave the first one. So it ended up landing in pretty much the same place. Do either of you want to go on record with a score?
I gave it a 3. Yeah. I gave the first one a 3 as well. Yeah.
So it ends up feeling a little bit more of the same, I guess, is where we land on that one.
Just fine.
We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if it does make another one. I mean, if it makes another 12-13 million this weekend, depends, I guess, how it does internationally, but it should just about turn a profit. So they might feel it's worth going back and making another one. I don't know how much more they can course correct. They course corrected so much from 1 to 2. I don't know where you go.
Well,
maybe that's another episode of what they should do next.
Funnily enough, Mortal Kombat 11's storyline is all about correcting the timeline, and there's a character in there called...
I have played that, yeah.
Krona? I can't remember her name. She's like she kind of looks like Tilda Swinton-esque, kind of like the Ancient One, and she's all about changing the timeline in the stories. So, if in doubt, do that.
Yeah.
Just reset it.
So that leads us on to something completely different. And this is going to be interesting now because we're each going to talk about a film that 2 of the others have not seen. So we're coming over to you first, Michael, to talk about the Sheep Detectives.
Yeah, so I haven't been to the cinema in quite a bit, and when I came back off my holiday, I just wanted something light and fun, and just something to get me back into the routine of going. And I'd seen this film advertised quite a bit before, like other films that I'd been to see. And it just looked a little bit daft. It kind of reminded me of like movies like Cats and Dogs and Babe, which I watched a lot as a kid. And I reluctantly enjoyed this a lot. Like it pains me to say it, but I did enjoy it because it isn't by any means great cast. And I will say, if you are going to watch this film, Google the cast beforehand, because I spent the best part of 40 minutes being like, who is that? I know that voice, like guessing who was playing what character. It did take me about an hour to realize that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was the main voice because she said something and Veep, I know that character. But yeah, it was a really good film. I did enjoy it a lot. It was very family friendly. Like it was very family friendly, more like on the kid side than like. Do you know how some family films are kind of in the middle where it kind of caters to both sides? This one was definitely more towards the kids side of it,
which is interesting because it is a murder mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, it's technically like Knives Out, but for sheep. So like in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, Hugh Jackman's the what is technically the shepherd, the farmer, and he dies, and then the sheep have to solve his murder. So it's kind of Knives Out-ish, and then there's just a load of different famous people that come in and out, like Emma Thompson's in it randomly. But yeah, it is a good film. It's just a nice little light-hearted watch. It's not like Oscar, BAFTA, absolutely changing the game cinema, but it was a cute little afternoon watch for sure.
Is it set in the UK? It feels very British.
It is very British, but I guess that's a gripe actually. It's very British with a lot of American voices, so it kind of takes you in and out of the film because it plays like a British film, but then Hugh Jackman's Australian and Julia Louis-Dreyfus is really American. And then you've got like Brett Goldstein, who is like the most British sounding person to ever speak.
Yeah.
And like Patrick Stewart and stuff. So it kind of swings and roundabouts, but it was fun. I did enjoy it.
I have to admit, I was confused from the trailer as to who it was for. I wasn't sure who it was for at all.
Yeah, I did kind of leave it being like, I'm not sure if that was aimed at me, but I came anyway and I had a good time.
Because I think it's done really well.
I think the timing of it, like, I think it was just after like the time that the kids are off from school. Like, it was the time didn't positioned it really, really well because my cinema was full of families, which it never is. Like, there's hardly anyone there. Like, it's just me and like the people that work at the cinema that are usually there, like me and my boyfriend, and that's kind of it.
I think what surprised me the most is like when I saw the trailer and heard the premise, I'm like, oh, that'll be a light watch, you know. And then I saw like 4 and 5 star reviews coming in the week beforehand, and I'm like, a what? I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't give it any higher than a 3. Like, it is a perfectly respectable and enjoyable watch, but like, yeah, it's not like like the story is really easy to follow. Oh, Neil's pulling a very shocked face. What have you seen?
It currently has. So I just went to Rotten Tomatoes just to see where it sits. So audience score 96%.
Damn.
There are 164 reviews logged so far from critics, and it has 94%.
Damn.
So it is universally, almost completely across the board, adored.
Move over Project Hail Mary. The Sheep Detectives is here.
Yeah. So if you do that filter for top critics, then the score drops to 89%. But that's not exactly a huge fall.
That's still really solid. It's still a fresh tomato.
So there's 154 fresh reviews and 10 rotten, and that's it.
Jesus.
Fair. I will say one of my favorite things of this film was the writing. It was genuinely quite funny. Like, there were moments where I did just chuckle out loud at how daft or like some of the things that they had to do. It did genuinely get a good giggle out of me, which I think is a great sign. You know, like, it's rare to actually genuinely laugh out loud at a film because sometimes you just can't, oh, that's funny, but you don't actually laugh. But yeah, there was some really cute and hilarious moments. It is genuinely a really solid film.
Amazing.
Like, it's by no means a bad film at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. My one tip is just Google the cast before you go in, because you will then be like, oh yes, I know that voice.
Does it leave
the full time
room for are there other crimes for these detectives to solve, or?
It kind of ends on like a very like solid, like, this is done. No.
Okay.
But you never know. I mean, it's at a lot of money, so I'm sure they'll find another crime to solve.
Too Sheep, Too Furious, coming soon.
Too Sheep, yeah. Yeah, no, it does end it solidly. But we will see.
Yorkshire Drift.
Yorkshire Drift.
Brilliant.
Oh my god.
Okay. Amazing. I'm going to have to check that out at some point, just because I'm so curious about it. It just looks so utterly random.
It is really random. It is good though. It's the perfect Sunday film, if that makes any sense. Like,
it does have Sunday vibes.
Sunday afternoon, I'm on the sofa. I can't really be bothered to do much. Stick it on.
Yeah,
it's great. You'll have a good time.
Okay, which then leads to a film that I don't think I have ever even heard of from Aaron, which is not made by Aaron, but to talk to us about.
I'm going to take all the credit now.
Remarkably Bright Creatures. School me, because I genuinely don't know that I've heard of this.
So, to be honest, this didn't come on my radar until, a couple of months ago when I saw just a one-off trailer for it, and I was like, oh, that looks like it could be a sweet little comedy drama.
I recognise the poster. Yeah.
So it's a Netflix film based off of a book of the same name, starring Sally Field, Lewis Pullman, and an uncredited Alfred Molina, who voices an octopus. Best casting ever. Yeah, because why not? I'm going to read the synopsis on Letterboxd because, again, there might be some people that don't know the film at all. Through unlikely bonds formed during night shifts working at a local aquarium, Tova, an elderly widow, learns of a life-changing discovery that may bring her joy, and wonder once again. That is not the best synopsis, but we'll go with it anyway.
I don't understand why like IMDb and Letterboxd never have like what seems to be either the official or particularly well-written synopses for these things.
Yeah, it's like, well, that synopsis gets like 50% of the plot summed up, but it's kind of missing the whole thing of like her bond with Lewis Pullman's character, which is kind of the main drawing point of the film. Similar to the Sheep Detectives, if you're looking for like a really heartwarming light watch, this is kind of the perfect thing to stick on Netflix. But what surprised me the most about this film is that there is quite a few instances where I was worried it was going to veer into like overly cheesy territory, or the best way to put it is like I thought it was going to veer into like a Hallmark film.
Yeah.
And it avoids doing that at every opportunity. Like just when you think it will, it never over dramatizes anything or goes down the cringy route. It just stays very I don't know what the word is to describe this. It just stays very like honest with itself. And the main drawing point is the chemistry between Sally Field and Lewis Pullman, because they it's one of those ones where obviously they don't get along to begin with, but then over the course of the film they like warm to each other and they open up to each other, and it's really sweet. And the main like through line of the film is that there is this old octopus in the aquarium who's, like I said, voiced by Alfred Molina, and he's kind of grown a fondness to Sally Field's character, who's the janitor. They both end up being janitors at the aquarium, and the octopus, obviously, because he can't speak. This isn't like a Sheep Detectives or Babe situation where they talk. You're more just hearing the octopus's stream of consciousness. And obviously, because octopuses are quite intelligent creatures, everything that like humans moan about or have struggles with, he's just basically calling us idiots, just like, oh, if they knew it was so simple. But yeah, it's lovely. It does a nice blend of, it doesn't make you outright laugh, but it just kind of, it's heartwarming. But then right towards like the third act, when it really needs to pull the emotional card, it really does it really well. And the best way I can sum it up is that like I didn't realize I was that invested with the story until it starts to put all the pieces together in that final act, where I was actively sitting there going, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. And I was legitimately choking up a little bit because I didn't realize that I was as hooked as I was until that final part of the film. It's really lovely. It's directed quite well, but the main thing is the performances in the movie that keeps it going. But yeah, it's a light watch, and it's I can't remember how long it is. 114 minutes, so it's not a breezy watch, but like you can get through it in the back if it's on in the background, or just one evening.
Currently has an 82% review score and a 90% audience score.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I gave it.
I've seen what that final thing is that happens. Thank you, internet.
Goddamn internet. Yeah, I gave it like a 4 on Letterboxd. And because I was veering like a 3.5, and then like the more it went on, I'm like, no, I think this is quite confidently a 4. But that's just me.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's 2 really heartwarming films.
Yeah.
What have you watched, Neil?
So I went to see Obsession this week, which is a new horror from Carrie Barker, who is a comedian by default, but comedian and actor. But he has written this horror movie. Synopsis is after breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for. Stars Michael Johnston and Indy Navarrete, who people will know from Superman and Lois, as Bear and Nikki, who are kind of the 2 lead characters. So it is entertaining, and there were laughs in the cinema, but it is also very uncomfortable to watch. And there are so many different ways you could try and interpret the film, and it's telling you about loads of different scenarios. It makes you think about loads of different scenarios and loads of different ways in which relationships can go really horribly wrong. So he is just this slightly down on his luck guy who has this crush on Nikki, Indy's character. They work together in a music store with two of their other best friends, and through random circumstance, he ends up in this slightly like witchy, crystally, hippy dippy type shop where he's trying to find something to buy as a gift for her, and he wants to tell her that he has a crush on her. And then he sees this thing called the One Wish Willow, which is, I thought it was candy to begin with, because they'd given us at the screening, they gave us the box, but the version they gave us was like a chocolate bar to snap. So I was like, oh, it's going to be like some chocolate bar that you wish on. But no, it's actually like a piece of wood that's in a box. And when you snap it, you make a wish. And he's like, like this will ever come true. And then obviously it does. But what you realize throughout the film, as it passes on, is that, okay, in the beginning, he doesn't necessarily realize the consequences of his wish, and he maybe doesn't believe, because why would you believe that a wish would ever come true? So he accidentally says something that upsets her, and in frustration breaks it, and he's like, oh, I just wish she was obsessed with me. And then she is obsessed with him. But I need to be really careful because I don't want to ruin it, but I need to touch on what it does. It's sort of a story about taking away someone's autonomy. And it's not in a way so you could almost interpret it like coercive control, but it's not, because of the way it's presented. It's not that he is genuinely coercively controlling this girl. It's through the power of this wish. So there's a supernatural element to it, but that's how it's framed to make you think about that in real life relationships, and relationships that you might be in now or have been in the past, and just relationships with people around you that have some of those really nasty, darker elements to them. And then obviously it goes to more and more extreme places, and you learn the sort of truth about what is happening to her as the subject of the wish. And you see that actually he maybe is so desperate to be loved that he ignores the fact that what he's done is actually maybe terrible, even though, like, he kind of doesn't question whether the feelings that she has are real. And even when he learns that they're genuinely not, and it's through the power of his wish, he kind of sort of ignores it. And in the end, one of the biggest questions of it is the obsession that is the title, her obsession with him because of the wish, or his obsession with wanting to be loved, and how far his behavior will go because of it. And so it just ends up, it's very, you will end up thinking about it a lot afterwards. There is just so much to digest, and I keep getting recommended reel after reel on Instagram of people trying to dissect it and explain what they think is happening, and it's different between male members of the audience, female members of the audience, depending on like anything really, depending on your own life experience, how you interpret it. And there's just some really interesting moments where you're watching it and you feel sorry for him, but then you feel sorry for her, and then you realize that actually maybe you shouldn't be feeling sorry. It's very, very well constructed. My only gripe with it, and this is the single most minor gripe you could possibly have, it's set in the present day, but is filmed in, I say, like 4:3, like old school TV, like square. But I saw somebody on the internet today say it's close to like 3:2, which I don't know what the difference is between the two of them. But obviously it's not in widescreen. There are big black bars down the sides. And I can't for the life of me figure out why, other than it's quite claustrophobic. And they do spend a lot of time in his house. So maybe it adds to the claustrophobia of it. But then you go to the shop where they work, and you do spend a bit of time outdoors. So I couldn't figure out why it needed to be filmed like that, or what that added to it.
My initial thought is, like, are they trying to mimic like Instagram grid style?
Almost, yeah.
Aspect ratio, but at the same time, I don't know. That's a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Usually there is a purpose for doing something like that.
Yeah, and I haven't figured out what that is, and I've not seen them talk about it in any interviews to understand if what from Cory Barker's perception is as to why they did it like that. But cast is amazing. Cinematography, despite the framing, is amazing. It's an incredibly practical film, very low budget, very gritty, very grimy. When it wants to make you feel sick, you will feel genuinely sick. And the performances are just brilliant. So if you want to go to the cinema and be mildly disturbed whilst being entertained, go see Obsession, which is out right now.
Love it. Kind of sold, I'm not going to lie. Did you say it's a horror?
Genuinely watching it, I'm like, Michael will love this.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah. Like, my kind of thing. Yeah, it genuinely is the kind of thing that you would go and see it and be like, right, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, new personality for the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
They've started talking about it in that they think they could do more with it, probably not with those characters, but with the idea of the wish. And you could almost do different genres. Like you could do a comedy about what happens if you make a wish that turns out to have some really comedic outcomes. Like this is a very specifically horror one because of the term obsession and what that leads to with her behavior. But there are so many different ways that you could spin it. They were like, it could be an anthology TV series. It could be, we could do sequels where we do different things. So it wouldn't surprise me if there is more to come from this idea.
I legitimately love the idea of this becoming like this generation's Final Destination a little bit.
You could, yeah.
I love that.
Because there is...
It's almost like Marvel's What If, but like the horror version. Like what if someone was,
Yeah. And because it leaves you on the most horrendous note. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but the ending is just like, whoa. In a way that you could, in theory, have a character that could like be a through line into another one that would be like, oi, just before you snap that twig, just think about it. And it does also make you think about how you would word a wish that you were making as well to try and get what you want without getting some horrible consequences. Really surprised me though. Like so far my horror film of the year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I legitimately love the fact that there's like people who have made a name for themselves on the internet getting careers as like really respectable horror filmmakers now. Like with because as soon as you were talking about it, I googled Cory Barker and like I immediately recognized his face from like internet sketches. You got him, you got the Philip who's doing like Talk to Me, you got Chris Stuckman doing Shelby Oaks, and I just love the fact that some of the best horror films of the last like 2 to 3 years have been courtesy of people from the internet.
Backrooms later this year as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that
yesterday.
Yeah. That's really good.
I hadn't actually watched the trailer, so it was cool to see it on the big screen for the first time.
Oh wow!
It looks so good on the big screen. It looks so creepy in like the best way.
Yeah,
I love that the horror genre is one of the. We don't talk about it a lot, but the horror genre really does bring. It allows people to like step into the film space. Like it's very open to new ideas and like new creators. Where like other genres aren't as forgiving, but horror seems to be the one that a lot of people start out in.
You can experiment.
I love.
Yeah,
because there's no rules really. You can kind of do whatever you want, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think that wraps us up for this episode. That's really interesting. I need to go watch Sheep Detectives and Remarkably Bright Creatures and cheer myself up after Obsession. You two, being so cheery from the films that you've watched, need to go watch Obsession and then just feel really bad about life.
No, I don't need to feel even worse. I'm already bad at this.
Well, thank you for this therapy session. I needed it. I am glad that we found the time to get together for this. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, hopefully. I don't know, because we never do these days, what we're going to be talking about, but we've got The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is coming really soon. We're heading into summer territory, so there must be quite a bit coming up in the next
There's a lot in June.
Yeah. I mean, we're heading into Supergirl territory. There is what other things we got coming up?
We've just to rattle off some big films of the year. You've got Character vs. Acme, Supergirl, The Odyssey, Fucker-in-Law, Spider-Man, Street Fighter, Resident Evil.
You got Jackass 5 coming out the same week as Supergirl, but whether that would warrant a podcast episode, I don't know, because we can just sum that up by going, it's stupid.
Yeah. Be a very short episode.
It's true. So you'll watch this space, and we will endeavour to find the right topic to bring to you. So until next time, stay safe, stay well. We'll see you out there. Bye.